I appreciate your patience. Thank you again for coming. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for ourselves, for our families, for our friends, and more importantly, for our country, and for all Americans, would you please welcome our next president, Congressman Ron Paul.
Me to participate in it. You know, this is really great. A lot of people give me a lot of credit for energizing people, and quite frankly though, you energize me and I appreciate that very much. Liberty have lain dormant for so long, but at least they're not dead. They're alive and well, and each and every day that we campaign and travel around the country, we know that our numbers are growing by leaps and bounds. I have never been bashful in saying that I have been a very reluctant candidate, because I have been rather dismissal of whether or not I was rather concerned about whether there's support for these views, whether that we are ready for these views of the return to the Constitution. But let me assure you that what I have learned in the last 8 months, there is no reason for me to remain skeptical. There's no reason for you to be skeptical. Our message of liberty and the Constitution is alive and well. For too long, we as a nation have been careless with our Constitution, that we have neglected it, we have taken it for granted, and we have allowed those in Washington to take advantage of us. But it's up to us now, the people, to restore the rightful control over the government. The Constitution was written as a prohibition against government power. It was written to control the government, never to control the people. A commander-in-chief should be the commander-in-chief of the military, never the commander-in-chief of the people. Unfortunately, we have forgotten our way. We have forgotten what we should have learned and kept in mind for so many years. And that is the principle of the Constitution. Means there should be a division of power, there should be a separation of powers, there should be checks and balances. Today, tragically, what we have a government where the Congress doesn't do what it's supposed to do, the executive branch does more the Supreme Court is legislating, which they should never be allowed to do.
Reduce the size of government to its proper role. Just think of one of the first things that we could achieve, because it would no longer be necessary. We could quickly repeal the 16th Amendment and get rid of the IRS. This still seems to be a strange position to hold when we look at the other candidates and when we look at what the media asks, because they quickly follow up and they ask this bewildering question. They say, what do you want to replace it with? How about nothing? And of course, if they don't have reduce the size and scope of government to its proper level. But you know, the way that income tax is collected, and the principle of the income tax, is based on the theory, the unwarranted theory, that the government owns us and owns the fruits of our labor. The government then, even if the tax were 1%, they would have 100% control of the principle that they own all the income and they're giving us permission to keep just a small amount. So it is for this reason that we have to stick to the principle that we own the fruits of our labor. It takes us a few weeks or a few months or a year to get exactly what we want. Why don't we have a rule for Congress that all senators and all congressmen are forced to fill out their own tax return on April 15th on the House floor, and they can't leave until they get the job done. But indeed, we do have a lot of problems. We do have a lot of problems. The government is out of control. We're avoiding the Constitution. Our personal liberties are challenged. And we essentially ignore entirely Article 1, Section 8, which is explicit. It tells us what authorities the Congress has. There's a couple of provisions there that I want to talk about that I think are maybe more important than others. One has to do with war. Our founders had an explicit reason why they were concerned about the tyranny of the king. And one was the oppression of the military establishment on the settlers and the colonial people of that time. So they were very explicit. They did not want to have a government where the executive branch was in charge